Let's talk about square foot gardening and how to apply it to containers. Before we talk about square foot gardening, we need to start with a clean canvas. My garden bed had a rough season this summer, and it definitely shows. I dealt with squash bugs that completely took out my squash plants, and my poblano peppers didn't have enough time or heat to fully develop. As you can see here, my poblanos are basically just little nuggets. I planted them too late in the season, and they never got the consistent sun and warm temperatures they needed to size up. But honestly, look at this little guy. It's kind of like a lunchbox poblano. Even when things don't go perfectly, gardening always gives you something fun to appreciate. To clean up the garden bed, I like to remove the plants one at a time and gently shake off or knock off as much soil from the roots as possible. This helps keep more of that valuable soil in the bed instead of throwing it away. Peppers are especially easy to pull out because they have shallow root systems, so they usually come out clean without taking a big chunk of soil with them. This process is always a little bittersweet. You remember the good moments you had with these plants all season long, but the nice thing is, when you add them to your compost bin, you are giving them a second life. All that plant material will break down and eventually come back as rich, healthy compost to feed your future garden. Now that the garden bed is cleaned out and ready to go, it's time to prep the soil before we start planting. If you've watched my video from last week, you already know I'm a big fan of using manure-based compost. I love it because it's light, fluffy, and really easy to mix into your soil. Manure compost helps keep your soil healthy without adding too much woody material. That's important because too many large, woody chunks can lead to something called nitrogen tie-up. That's just a fancy way of saying your plants can't access the nitrogen in the soil because the microbes are too busy breaking down all that woody stuff. When that happens, your plants grow slower and look a little sad. By using manure compost, you give your garden a boost of nutrients and improve the soil texture without creating those nitrogen problems. It's one of the easiest, most beginner-friendly ways to refresh a garden bed and get it ready for a new season of planting. If you notice a few clumps in your manure compost, don't worry, that's totally normal. Go ahead and try breaking them up with your hands and mix them into the soil as best you can. The smaller you can make those clumps, the easier it will be for your plant's roots to grow through the soil. If you can't break them apart, that's completely fine too. I usually just toss those stubborn clumps into the compost bin so they can break down over time. This keeps the soil in your garden bed nice and smooth, which is especially important when you're planting seeds or young seedlings. You want them to have soft, even soil to sprout and grow without any obstacles. After the compost is applied, I like to add a 4-4-4 fertilizer for lettuce and spinach because it's a balanced blend that gives leafy greens all the essential nutrients they need without overwhelming them. These crops grow fast and don't require heavy feeding, so a gentle, even ratio keeps their growth steady and healthy. It also helps prevent issues like bitterness or tip burn that can happen when nitrogen levels are too high. To fertilize a standard garden bed, I like to use about 2 cups of fertilizer before each new planting. I sprinkle a thin, even layer across the entire surface of the bed and then gently mix it into the top few inches of the soil. Over the years, I've learned that giving your plants a solid nutrient foundation from the start is key to strong, steady growth throughout the whole season. A good fertilizer base helps your seedlings establish healthy roots, grow more evenly, and stay productive longer. It's one of the simplest ways you can take to set your garden up for success, especially if you're growing fast crops like lettuce and spinach. After you apply fertilizer and compost, the next step is simply to mix everything into the soil. I usually prefer to use my hands because it gives me a better feel for the texture of the soil, but you can absolutely use a hand cultivator if your soil is a bit dry or compacted. Just work the top few inches until everything is blended together. You'll know it's mixed well when you can no longer see any fertilizer granules and the top layer looks like an even blend of half compost and half soil. This creates a soft, nutrient-rich surface that's perfect for planting seeds or transplants. Taking a few extra minutes to mix thoroughly really helps your plants start off strong. After that, just give the soil a light watering to help everything settle in. You don't need to soak it, just enough moisture to activate the fertilizer and help the compost start blending with the soil. Once that's done, your garden bed is officially prepped and ready, which means it's time to jump into some square foot gardening. The idea behind square foot gardening is to maximize the space you have while making it super easy to plan how much to plant. The first step is to measure your garden bed so you know how many 1 foot squares you can fit. My bed is about 4 feet long and 2 feet wide, so I can divide it into 8 individual square foot sections. By simply drawing or marking those squares right on the soil, you can instantly get a clear visual map of where everything will go. This helps you avoid overcrowding, makes planting way less confusing, and ensures each plant has the right amount of space to grow. It's one of the simplest and most beginner-friendly methods for organizing a garden bed. Now that everything is organized, let me show you a simple guide I use to figure out how many plants can fit in each square. This chart from my local nursery, The Natural Gardener, is one of my favorite resources. It breaks down exactly how much of each plant you can grow in 1 square foot and gives beginners a clear starting point. I'll link the guide in the description so you can check it out and use it as a reference in your own garden. Having a visual like this makes planning your square foot garden so much easier, especially if you're new to gardening and want to avoid overcrowding. Let's highlight some of the most common plants and how they fit in a square foot gardening layout. For spinach, you can actually fit 9 plants in 1 square foot, which is amazing when you think about how much you can grow in such a small space. For lettuce and most herbs, the rule of thumb is 4 plants per square foot, which gives them just enough room to grow without overcrowding each other. For larger plants like squash, tomatoes, and peppers, it's usually 1 plant per square foot. These plants need more space for their roots and leaves to spread out, so giving them their own square helps them grow strong and healthy. Using these simple guidelines makes it easy to plan your garden and get the most out of every inch of space, even if you're a beginner. In this garden bed, I'm going to plant 2 different varieties of spinach. I absolutely love a fresh spinach salad, so you really can't have too much spinach in the garden. If you do the math, that's a whopping 72 spinach plants packed into this bed. When it comes to planting spinach seeds, I've noticed a little issue with germination using my usual method. Normally, I create a small hole and drop the seed in, but I've found that sometimes the seeds end up too deep and it takes forever for them to sprout. So today, I'm trying 2 different methods. On the left, I will stick with the traditional hole method. On the right, I'm testing a different approach called the push and cover method. This means I'll lay the seeds on the top of the soil, then gently push them in, and then cover them lightly. This might help the seeds from going too deep and improving germination. I'll let you know how it goes in future videos so we can see which method works best. Now that the seeds are planted, all that's left to do is gently water them in. You don't need to soak the soil, just enough moisture to help the seeds settle and start germinating. Once your seedlings are watered, I want to show you how you can apply this same square foot gardening method to containers. Whether you have a small balcony, a patio, or just a few pots, this approach works really well for maximizing space and keeping everything organized, even in limited areas. To apply square foot gardening to containers, I like to use a 7 or 10 gallon grow bag. I prefer these because they are just over a foot in diameter, which gives you roughly the same space as 1 square in a garden bed, making it really easy to plan your plants. You can see here that my tomatoes, which I'm only growing 1 per container, are thriving. Even with just a single plant in each pot, they get plenty of room for their roots and grow really strong. One of the best parts of living in Texas is that you can keep growing fresh, homegrown tomatoes all the way into November. It's a great example of how square foot gardening works just as well in containers as it does in a garden bed. To prepare this new grow bag, I'm going to reuse some soil from my old containers and give it a little refresh. Most container soil can be reused, so don't be afraid to transfer soil from one pot to another. It's a great way to save resources and keep your garden sustainable. After filling the container with old soil, I like to add a bit more fresh container soil, a layer of compost, and a little fertilizer. Then I mix it all together so the soil is light, fluffy, and full of nutrients. Now it's perfectly ready for planting square foot style. Since I'm planting lettuce, I know I can fit 4 plants per square foot or container. Once everything is planted, I give it a gentle watering to help the seedlings settle in. And just like that, we're all set for fresh, homegrown lettuce heads in about 40 days. Square foot gardening makes the most of any space, whether in a garden bed or containers. With nutrient-rich soil, balanced fertilizer, and careful planting, your seeds and seedlings get the best start. By planning spacing and using simple techniques, even a small garden can produce a bounty of fresh, homegrown vegetables, making gardening easy and rewarding for beginners. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, hit subscribe, and as always, happy growing.